And Friday brings back the championship. And what we need to look at is the most expensive promotion in football, get into the Premier League. Who is going to do it this year? And also who is going to be in them relegation battles going out the championship? And I think there are some obvious sort of teams that will be in and around it. But there might be a few dark horses who go down and also some dark horses who go at least into the playoff positions. Friday night is Birmingham City versus Ipswich. Reece, what do you make of this game? Because it's one team that's been relegated from the Premier League and one team that's been promoted from League One, but it's not going to be, in odds-wise, that sort of different. I think the odds will be quite, even for whoever wins this game.
Yeah, as you said, the best league in the world returns on Friday, and it's the best league in the world because it's the most unpredictable league in the world. We've got some quality teams coming down, quality teams coming up, and we've still got a lot of quality teams still in the league from a playing perspective, a coaching perspective, from a potential perspective. And it all kicks off Friday night with those two teams, like you said, with Birmingham, who promoted from League One, versus Ipswich, who were relegated from the Premier League. And this is definitely one of those games that should be the staple of your calendar because these teams are expected to compete. So to put them at the first game of the season is really interesting because the last thing you want is to already be 3 points behind a team you're expected to be competing against. As we know, Ipswich go into this probably the favourites for the league in many people's eyes. They've not really lost any players other than Liam Delap, and they spent 7.8 million on Azur Matsua. Sorry for butchering that. So they remain intact. Birmingham, on the other hand, as we know, smashed the points in League One and have already spent 9.35 million overall themselves, which is just under Ipswich's overall spend. Damari Gray, Barata Samuel, and Kyogo Furushari as their main sort of additions, which really goes to show the depth that Birmingham have built under their ambitious ownership. This is a real tough game. It's got a first game of the season vibes about it, I'm sure. Nerves, not wanting to lose, not wanting to risk anything too early, but it's an opportunity to make a statement for either side because I expect both these teams to be there and thereabouts by the end.
Well, like you say, Reece, they are... So Ipswich are first for being sort of winning the championship and Birmingham are third in the bookies' odds. So, yeah, so definitely you're playing these first game of the season. Both teams aren't sort of, embedded into the championship. They're still probably learning, still probably going to make maybe another transfer or two after this game. So to lose 3 points when you're not fully ready against a title rival is a bit of a blow. So I think the Friday night of it does make it a bit sort of, I think it makes it a bit more anxious. It's not a 3 o'clock on a Saturday where you normally play. The Friday means all eyes are on you and all other teams in the championship are also watching, going, right, how good are these teams? Or is there something for the other teams to be looking at? So I'm really interested in this game, not just because football's back. Obviously, we've had League One and League Two over the weekend, but being back in the Championship is going to be really exciting, and they couldn't have picked a better game. Whether this supercomputer actually thinks of that, you never know with the fixture predictions. But yeah, who do you think, other than these two, will be very interested in this game because they should be right up there, title rivals?
Oh, it's a good call because I think this game carries more weight into it when they meet again at Portman Road in April. But like you said, to have that leverage over another competition, what you want to be is every team around them now wants to look at this game and say, we can be 3 points ahead of these folks or 2 points ahead of it early on. That's what they're going to want. And you have to naturally go to the two relegated teams who, as again, are supposed to be up there, and that's Leicester and Southampton. Now, both have had contrasting summers, to say the least, and a lot of us will probably expect Southampton to be in a lot more better shape than Ipswich at the moment, and they're going to want to get off to a good start. However, it's easier said than done for them because they're playing Wrexham, who are also another team with money, another team with big ambitions, and another team who have also not been afraid to open the checkbook per se. So again, like this is why the league is so good. How can so many people, you can't really call it, can you? That one.
No,
So that's
absolutely, yeah.
a big
Like
one.
once again, I don't know how these computers come up with these fixtures on the same sort of day or same sort of game week. It'd be really exciting for Wrexham, obviously coming back to the Championship in a long, long time. However, I think this might be a step too far for them to be. They've gone back to back, isn't it? They've gone up, or is it just back to back? One of the two. Them going up like that, I think the Championship is just, it can become such a black hole for teams. Whereas you can just get sucked up into it and you just stay there for 10 years. And the 10 years go past and you're like, what's happened? And effectively nothing. You might get a sort of playoff game or two, but if you don't get that promotion, sometimes you can just stay in there and just, I don't want to say rot because I think that's a bit harsh, but it is just you're flatlined into it. So Wrexham, obviously seeing these promotions going on, they're not going to be used to not going for the sort of title or at least playoff places. So I think that could be a struggle for them this season. How is their mentality when they're not fully winning each week and sometimes possibly getting battered?
Yeah, it's a strange one for Wrexham because I don't expect them to finish in the top six. I just think that they may, they need to stabilize in the championship before they make that, that destined journey to the Premier League. And I agree. There's probably going to be an expectation how they're going to deal with the non-favourites tag. Because I think Ipswich are in a situation where they've gone from going up as underdogs to now being favourites. And we know how that helped with Luton. That didn't help Luton last season. I don't think Ipswich are close to that. But yeah, for Wrexham, it's an interesting season. I think they're off to a tough start, but I don't think it matters if they have a slow start because I think they've got the strength in depth. They've got the pool as a club to try and, take advantage of that. And I think they'll be more than capable of beating a lot of the teams in this division. So I don't think the first trip to Southampton is a real big test for them, but it's a good opportunity for them to show where they are.
Yeah, I think it might be one of them games where if you just get rid of that game and just go, right, I'll see, like, it's a free hit. Because Southampton, as I sort of said, with the bookies' favourites, Southampton are second. They're the ones in between Ipswich and Birmingham City. So Southampton should be looking to win this game. And for Wrexham, it might go, you know what, we lose to Southampton. But remember, Southampton may have not had didn't have a great season in the Premier League, but still are, a top side in this division now. So I think they're the ones that, you look at and think Southampton are looking at Ipswich and Birmingham going, how have they performed? Are we better than them? Are we a bit worse? And can sort of see where they are. Leicester City, though, now I think, if we're looking over the last sort of, 10 years, Leicester City should be a well-established Premier League team that shouldn't be in this position where they've gone down in 2 of the last 3 years. Can you see them coming back up? Because the bookies' favourites, they're nowhere near. No, nowhere near the
Mhm.
top. They're more likely to get relegated. I think I saw one stat showing, which is shocking, considering they were Premier League champions not so long ago.
Yeah, this would be the 10th sort of anniversary from that Premier League title win. And I think none of us expected to be Leicester to be Premier League champions then. But I don't think any of us from that day to have expected Leicester to be potential championship strugglers now. Um, it's been a pretty chaotic summer for them. It looks like more penalties coming their way. Um, no real. I think they're under embargo as well. They can't really sign anyone. They can't, so they're going to have to sell players. But if you sell players, you can't bring them in. So they're going to have to rely on probably an academy or some free agents. I like their coach, Martin Cifuentes. I think he's a very talented coach. He did a great job at QPR. But with his hands tied behind his back like this, is he going to deliver? He did at QPR. So he should be able to at Leicester. However, I saw it looks like indeed he might be off to Besiktas
Yep.
for £9 million. That's a key loss, and a key player they've had around the dressing room for some time. I fear for them. This could be one of those, and I hope it isn't. I'm just, offering a local YouTuber's sort of opinion, but I fear this could be Sunderland level vibes of going down and then going down again. And that's because they've not got those, financial elements to do that. And they've also, when you don't really change the side, you've probably got players that might not want to be there, and you can't bring any fresh blood. Sometimes the only way to look is down. They shouldn't go down. They should have more quality. This team is 10 times better than that Sunderland side, 100 times better. But it's fearful for them. If anything, if they don't get the top six, they need to just hope to stay in. If that makes sense, they've got something to build. But when I mean stay in, don't be anywhere near the drop zone because the more you hang around there, it's like you're circling the drain. Eventually, you go down it, and
Yeah.
that's the worst case scenario for them because it'll only get worse.
Well, it just depends on what penalties they get put with. If it's just financial, it probably won't affect this season in terms of how well they do. But if it is a points deduction in any sort of way, shape, or form, it could be really bleak for them. And yeah, sort of we've seen a few teams now go down and down again. It could re-invite the club where they go, right, we have to strip out the dead wood and build from there. But you can't rely on that, and it would be a massive shame, especially to Leicester fans, if they are the ones having to do that like other clubs do.
Yeah, I mean they've still got reps of quality, like a lot of quality, a lot of Premier League quality,
Yeah,
in this side. The goalkeeper Hermanson's quality, James Justin, Wert Faust. You've got Harry Sauter there, Ricardo Pereira, and Didi. Whether he's still there or not remains to be seen. Oliver Skip is another one. Casey McAteer,
yeah.
Patson Daka.
These
They've
these
got
are
players that can do
players
it.
that shouldn't be getting relegated to League One. That's
No, no.
that's it. I know we're talking quite bleak on Leicester, but they've got a squad that shouldn't get relegated. But it's just, I think we're negative is because really, when you go down, you should be looking to go straight back up, and it's very hard to see that right now.
I mean, uncertainty around a club will feed around the players and
Yeah.
things like that. And when the expectations are there for you to do well and the pressure's on, it's not going to be good. There's going to be a lot of pressure on them, and it's how they can deal with that. They can't keep bouncing up and down between divisions at the moment. It's tough for them.
Yeah, and I think another team that is going to be interesting to see how they've bounced back from coming third, getting 90 points, and well, not getting promoted is Sheffield United. That's such an interesting one for me because that could honestly just deflate so much of the season because they were right up it with Burnley and Leeds last season. There's points where they were top of the table, and for them to end so badly really cost them massively. And this is why they're not in the Premier League this season. Do you see them sort of, I don't know, having sort of possibly a season where because they're deflated, they drop down a little bit. They may be fighting around the end of playoffs, or do you see them sort of being straight back up there, going right? We're actually going to get promoted this season and properly fight for them top two places.
Yeah, I expect them to be up and around there. I think I was surprised at the sacking of Wilder because I thought he rebuilt the squad very, very well. If anything, I felt that the squad that he rebuilt would have fared better in the Premier League, than that squad that was there last time. Um, they haven't. There's a big question mark over Ruben Sellis. That's not a criticism. I think he did a good job at steadying the ship at Reading. He's of course managed at Southampton, and he kept Hull up by the skin of their teeth. If anything, I think they were a defeat or a goal away from going down. But regardless, he kept them up. And this is a big step up for him actually, because going from Hull to Sheffield United with two teams at different parts of the table is a big risk. But other than Vinicius Souza, they've not really needed to make many changes to the squad. They've got a talented squad. I think they've got a really, really good team, an exciting team, and an interesting team who have a point to prove. I think they'll be just fine. It's maybe a slow start. They might have a couple of draws, a couple of silly defeats, and then they bounce back. But if you ask Sheffield United fans in 2016-17, they made 100 points in League One and got off to a shocking start. So it goes to show, it's how you finish. And I think it's going to maybe take time for them under the new coach to get themselves going. But they've not suffered huge amounts as other teams might have done for finishing third. So I expect them to be there and thereabouts around the playoffs should be it. I don't expect a disaster.
Yeah, yeah, I'd probably agree with you. I expect them to be up there. I think they'll go towards the playoff places. I don't think they're going to be good enough for the sort of automatic promotions. Just quickly, because we've just touched on the three promoted sides and three of the relegation sides and two of the promoted sides. We've got Charlton next, who I think were a bit of a surprise to go up in last season, just when they got to the playoffs kind of thing. I think they're obviously, probably a bigger club than a League One side. So you always expect them to get to at least the Championship. Like, I remember going there when they're in the Premier League kind of thing. How well do you think they'll do this season? Because I think for them, in my opinion, it's just survival. If they survive, that's a great season for them. Do you expect the same, or do you think they should be pushing for further up the table?
The championship is unpredictable, so you can take advantage if possible. I was confident Charlton would get promoted from League One. I think Nathan Jones, we saw him in the Premier League, and regardless of that, did a great job at Luton in League One, and he seems to do very well getting a club together, and getting them to fight. And he was the perfect appointment for them as they were looking to get out of the division, because as we know, they struggled to get out of it, and they've recruited well. He's gone back to his old club Luton and brought in a few players there, which I think will help him in Kaminsky, Amari Bell, and Reece Burke. I expect them to be. I think they can get a top half finish. I really, really do. Um, can they challenge the top six? I think it might be tough because I think the other teams might just have that over them. Um, but for them, it is about staying up. Nathan Jones will do that. No problem at all. They'll be tough to beat, especially at the Valley, and they know that. They'll have a platform to build. Keeping hold of Nathan Jones is their big challenge. I think he was offered a 5-year deal and he signed that pretty early on. That's testament to where they see them going under him. But if they don't finish in the bottom half, I do expect a top half finish, but playoffs might just be out of reach for them. They're going to need a little bit more recruitment after that.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's fair. I'd be surprised if they did get top half, but for them, I think survival is just is good enough, and I think that's a good season for them. Now, I think let's look at the relegation, and are there some key teams for you? Let's give you give me two teams to go down, and then one dark horse to go down. I think one's quite obvious that you're going to say, but I won't put words in your mouth for you on that one. But yeah, give me two teams that will go down, and then a dark horse who's probably fighting and may go down for it.
Yeah, I think I hate to say it because I do have a little soft spot for this club. I think they're a huge club. I think they're a club with a great fan base, and they're a club that really do deserve better. And it's Sheffield Wednesday. I mean, good grief. An owner that's looking to leave, fair enough. He's holding out for what he values the club at, and that's absolutely fine. But it doesn't look like there's a buyer at the moment. Players haven't been paid, so they've been given the right to release themselves from their contracts. They've barely got any players left. They have re-signed Barry Bannon, which is important, but they might not even be able to field a full strength 11. So they're going to have to dip into the academy, which, in my opinion, I don't really think they use very often. I don't, no disrespect, but they just don't. One of the stands is also closed. It's just a disaster. Danny Roll came back and left, which has left Henrik Pedersen of the iconic Bolton team in charge under Sam Allardyce. It's hard to see how they're going to stay up from this because if there's no owner on the horizon, what happens even if the ownership doesn't happen until September? They can't buy anybody until January. There's nothing, so they're stuck there, and that's a real issue for them. If an owner comes in now, great, but they've got to put together a squad not just before the first game of the season, but very, very quickly and allow them to gel. You're going to get a lot of misfits and oddballs going all together who probably, wouldn't get a time to know each other. It reminds me of when Portsmouth were in financial trouble in the Championship and they had to do that. Um, yeah, it's a sad state of affairs. I think they're going down because of that, and they might they might surprise people and have a us against them mentality, and I hope they do. But I don't think it's looking good. But maybe going back to League One might allow them to reset a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. That was the team I was referring to. Like, it's a sad state to be in. You don't like look. We even Sheffield United won't really want Sheffield Wednesday to do that because they'll enjoy the games more. Okay, if they go and beat them 4 or 5-0 this season, they're going to be happy with that. But you don't want to see a club just go away and like it could get really really bad if they're not able to, like they're not going to buy players try and use their academy who may or may not be good enough, and it could just spiral into a really bad situation for them where like League One they'll struggle in, and you don't want that for any sort of set of fans, and like you said, Sheffield Wednesday they do have a very good set of fans, and it's just a sorry state to see any club be like that. But come on,
No,
then,
it's
let's
yeah,
give me your sort of other one to go down and your dark horse to go down.
yeah. This is where it gets tough because there are so many clubs that are so good, and it could just come down to a team that might lose on goal difference. That's all it could come down to. I'm not the first person to put this team to go down. I've seen a lot of people around do this as well. I've gone for Hull City. Um, Everyone knows how close they were to the playoffs under Rosenior, Liam Rosenior. He was sacked. Whether you say fairly, unfairly, it's up to you. The appointments since then have not worked, and they've got worse and worse and worse and worse. They had terrible injuries last season, but I'm pretty sure they even sold some of their highest goal scorers as well and didn't replace them. So it's not looking good for Hull City. They've appointed another unknown manager who could find himself under pressure very early. They've won their preseason games. They put in a good performance against Sunderland. Let's not forget that. But it could be another step too far. They just seem to be a bit too chaotic at the moment, and I think this could be their time. However, they do have good players, so if their players are fit, should be fine. But I'm concerned.
Yeah, and annoyingly, I want to come up with a different sort of thing, but that's what I've written down. I've had Hull as well. It's it's a tough one. I think they were lucky last season that Luton was so bad because then they would have gone down. They would have probably gone down themselves, and that's the concern I have. Is I think they got fortunate, and I don't think they've improved. Going to improve enough to say because of Birmingham City coming up because you've got Wrexham and their sort of money, okay, you've got Charlton that they probably will compete. I think they'll compete against for the relegation spots. But when you've got a team that's so strong that's coming up, it does put more pressure on you, and I think Hull will be in and around that position.
It's a rough time for teams like Hull and Sheffield Wednesday because the quality of the teams coming up.
Yeah,
Don't worry about the quality of the teams coming down. Like you can sometimes in League One, there's a gap between that and the Championship, but this time, these three teams are not there to make up the numbers. The wealth of Birmingham and the wealth of Wrexham, and then you've got the fighting grit of Charlton. It This is one of the reasons I tipped Hull because it's like you could not have a worst case scenario of these teams coming up.
yeah, absolutely. That's sort of why I'm in agreement with you. I think with that. So come in, who's your dark horse then, and then we'll get on to who we think's going to go up.
Plenty of teams come to mind. Preston came to mind once. They've been mid-table mediocrity for years. Eventually, again, if you don't push up, you can only go down. But I've not gone for them. I think Paul Heckingbottom's got it in him to get them out of it. I have actually gone for Leicester.
Oh, okay.
I
That's
don't.
big for him to go down. Yeah,
The reason I say that is because I remember the Wolves team when they got relegated from the Premier League in 2012. They kept all their players. Nobody was really sold, and it just got worse. It just got worse, and they weren't in the financial restrictions of what Leicester were, far from it. But I think the negativity only added to the pressure. And that's why I think financially, Leicester can't go down. Financially, I mean, my word, like their wage bill is so high and the parachute payments they got, they need to stay there. But I feel that they could. I feel that they could slide down the table pretty quickly. They should be thankful they've got Sheffield Wednesday on the first game. But realistically, a bright start doesn't really mean much. It could be when the season starts to get a slog and you have to sell a few more players and people start to wonder what's what's going to happen, and if they get sanctioned as well, if the league decides to slap a points deduction on him, it could be a tough season for him.
Yeah, that's quite a big dark horse to go down, but there's a lot of reasons why. I've gone different, so at least we've not gone the three same sort of teams. I don't know if it's much of a dark horse because I don't think they've been great for the past few seasons, but I've gone with Stoke. I think they just are. They just seem to be hovering around the near the relegation. Okay, they finished a few. They finished a few points above, like only 2 points above last season. Okay, they finished 18th, so it looks a bit clearer. But I just I think they're the ones who could be in a bit of a problem area, like problem sort of area for them. I think they're getting worse rather than better, and that's why they've gone with my third choice. I don't know if you class it as a dark horse because I don't think they were too great last season, but they're still sort of, a big enough club where people will remember them being in the Premiership not too long ago.
Stoke have been a weird one for me. Everyone thought they were going to bounce straight back up, and with the players they had, the money they had, they should have done. Since then, they've burnt through a lot of big name managers. Let's not forget that, from Gary Rowett to Nathan Jones. Steven Schumacher's in there as well. O'Neill was in there for a while. Now they've got Mark Robbins, who's another big name. And since he lost AD Vivesh, or Vivesh, sorry if I've not pronounced that properly, at Coventry, his assistant, it's not worked out for him. And it contributed to his poor start for Coventry last year, which ultimately led to his sacking. So he kept them up, but he's got a huge job on his hands now because Stoke have been such a chalice, a poison chalice for so long. It makes you wonder, are they ever going to get out of it? But
Yeah,
I don't know. I think they'll be all right, but I say that about them every year.
yeah. Well, 2 points is just doing all right. Right, let's get on to the promoted sides. Reese, let's go with who do you think is going to win it? And then sort of give me your two other predictions. You don't have to tell me if they're automatically or playoffs, but just give me your three teams to go up.
Okay, I'm going to start with my champions. That's going to be Ipswich Town. I know that the pressure's on them to deliver, but I think this is a different kind of pressure. This wasn't an underdog story like Luton had. I expected Ipswich to bounce straight back up when they got promoted from League Two. I was confident they were going to get promoted again. Sorry, League One. I was confident they were going to get promoted from the Championship straight away. I did put them in the playoffs that time, but nevertheless, I got it. I'm going to say Ipswich. I think they're going to be fine, and they should be too strong. Parachute money helps to that, and unfortunately, the gap between the Premier League and the Championship is getting wider. However, as you can tell, I've gone for Leicester to go down, meaning that all three teams aren't bouncing back up. And for the sake of the Premier League, that is essential because you can't have that every single year. I've gone for their opponents on Friday, and that's Birmingham. I was blown away by watching them in League One. I went to go see them live as well, and I couldn't believe how good they are. Their ambitions are being matched. They've got the right coaching, Chris Davis. They've got the right set of players. They are on the up, and they should be on the up. They've been in this league. They were in this league for a very long time, and going down is better for you because you can come back up and refresh. That's who I'm going for second. And I'm going for the team that finishes third. They're also going to be the playoff winners this year, and that's Will Still Southampton. So we've got two out of the three coming back up, but I think Southampton again just have a steady ship about them. If they want to make some big money, they can sell Tyler Dibbling, but they've got a nice, tidy squad, and it's a real good opportunity for Will Still to show that he is the coach that a lot of people are tipping him to be.
Yeah, and as you sort of mentioned, Tyler Diblin, it looks like he might be going to Everton. Everton are putting in bids for him and discussing that, so he could be gone there. However, for my promoted teams, it's hard to look past Ipswich at the moment. So I'm going to agree with Ipswich on that one, and I do think Southampton will go up. But I do agree Leicester won't go up in that third spot. I feel like Birmingham are going to. I don't want to say bottle it because they don't have any right to go up. They're not, 10, 20 points ahead and kind of these sort of things. But I just don't see them going up this year. And I think the team that just failed last year, Sheffield United, will go up. I'm not going to say any of this with any absolute sort of, certainty because this is such an unpredictable league. But yeah, I think they're the three teams I'd go with going up. So we've gone with who's going up, but who's your dark horse, Reece? So we think these three teams, like you think your three teams will go up, I think my three teams are up. But who's someone who, might come out of absolutely nowhere, get in the playoffs, and possibly, like in the final, pull off a Sunderland with a 1-0 win?
Yep, I actually have two choices for my dark horse, and I'll give you the reason why. My first pick is actually West Brom. Ryan Mason is a really good appointment, I think. I think he showed that he's a good coach at Spurs. And West Brom, he's building a very nice, tidy team there. They've got an embarrassment of riches in the attack with Jed Wallace, Josh Madger, and if stays fit, Daryl DK will be lethal. But they've got such a good squad, and I rate them. I rate them a lot, and I think they're going to surprise a few people. I think I watched some of their preseason games, and I liked what I saw. And I think there's a lot of potential there for them to really grow. It might be a step too far. I think that they might get to, especially for Mason, they might get a couple of games where they lose, but I think they're going to be up there with the rest of them. And yeah, they deserve to be. They've also got the best away kit in the league, may I say that. That yellow and green stripe is an absolute beauty. So I think they're going to be up there. My other pick is also Millwall. Alex Neil, um, since he was appointed, has done a great job. And they were close to the playoffs last season. I think they've been fantastic, and the squad they've built is absolutely superb. They've spent the SA money perfectly, and one of the reasons for his appointment was to get the best out of Ivanovic. They're the BFS, as he's known. I'm not going to say what that means. Um, he is world class. I am putting a stamp on that now. Watch his goals. Watch his goal against Dagenham and Redbridge, where he literally threw his head on the line. His goal against Luton, where he volleyed it into the net. He scores every type of goal you can get. They're going to be a threat. Their issue is not losing silly games. That's my opinion. They are going to be up there by the end of the season. And with that crowd at the Den in the playoffs, good grief. Imagine that's going to be class. So, yeah, Millwall, my dark horse, along with West Bromwich Albion.
I was wondering when you were going to mention Millwall. Obviously, we've been to a few Millwall games during the international breaks and stuff. It can be a very good atmosphere there. Sort of sometimes the ones that players don't want to go to. So definitely Millwall. Millwall were one of my sort of picks, and the other one, it is a struggle because this league is just so unpredictable. I'm going to be picking I'm just going to go with Middlesbrough. Now, am I going to put any money on the line for that? Absolutely not. But I think they are sort of a fairly good side. Okay, they came 10th. They could have got playoff places last season, I think, but they let themselves down in sort of silly defeats. But I think another season, I just think they have that chance to do it. But it is a big if. It's a reason why it's a dark horse. I'm not going to be sort of putting my neck on the line for that one. But yeah, them and Millwall, I think definitely can be sort of ones that'll be very interesting. I don't think the Premier League will be supporting Millwall to be coming up because that might cause them a few headaches with the likes of security and things like that. But there we have it. That's everything we've got time for today. What do you make of the Championship this season? Is it going to be thrilling and unpredictable as always? And who's going to go up and who's going to go down? Let us know in the comments. And you know the drill. Come back to us every week for more football content.